Hey, how's it going, everybody? Hope you guys had a good Christmas. Hope you guys have a good New Year. I am back. I meant to make this video weeks ago, but I got sick. Christmas, New Year, work, all that jazz, all that shebang. But we're back. We're doing another one. It was originally going to be a Christmas haul video, kind of going over what I got for Christmas. I got gift cards, and then I bought more records, and then today some stuff was on sale, so I bought more. Cool. We'll just maybe do like record updates, like a January Volume 1, January Volume 2. I'm going to try to get a couple things each month. I don't know what the goal is for whatever this channel is. I don't know why I'm sitting here in front of the camera other than that I want to ramble and talk to you about music. That being said, today we're going to do introduction, who I am, what I like, what I don't like in my music, and what other things I like outside of metal. Because there's a lot of things I like outside of just metal. If the background music is too loud, let me know. I'm figuring it out. All I've got is the camera. There's no editing in this video. You're just going to have to deal with it. This is as pure as it gets. So in the background, we have Shadows, Out for Blood. This is a newer band from Chile. It is old school heavy metal. Like, these guys have not been around that long, but they play old school heavy metal. Kind of King Diamond-esque. Not really, but like in terms of falsetto, not really, but in terms of lyrical themes, maybe. It's a great album. You should check this out. It came out 2023 from Sentient Ruin Laboratories. Awesome. I still want to buy the vinyl. I enjoy this album a lot. It's got the classic sound. It's awesome. That being said, my name is Brendan. I go by Bren. You can call me Brendan. Whatever. It's fine. I don't care. Whatever. I've been listening to metal since I was 13. I'm 31 now, so we're going. Oh man, how did I get into metal? I'm going to use this loosely here, so bear with me. The first heavier band I listened to, I saw on TV. It may have been MTV. I was a young kid. I was 13. And it was an amphetamine, The Cradle of Filth. I saw that music video and listened to the song, and I was like, this isn't that bad. And I had some friends who were into metal, but I never really got into it. And so, I went onto the lawless land that was YouTube back in the day, and I typed in death metal. And I'm pretty sure it was Cannibal Corpse, but I don't remember it. It was just... I was like, I don't know what's going on here. It's just pummeling my eardrums. I'm just turning into mush. I hate it. I don't want to listen to this. I don't know what's going on. Don't let that drive you away from metal. Don't be that person. Got it? Listen to it. The vocals are an instrument, and you have to accept them. Anyway, don't make that mistake. There's a lot of good out there. You just got to go with it. I like to tell people vocals are an instrument, and you just kind of got to let it digest, and it ages. It grows on you. Getting off topic. So yeah, Nymphetamine was my first sort of introduction to heavier band, being Cradle of Filth. So I remember going to an electronics store with my mom, and I stumbled across Cradle of Filth Midian. This is one of the first CDs I ever bought. Stumbled across Midian, and I was like, oh, it's Cradle of Filth. I like that song. That's cool. Get it? Put it on in the car. The keyboard starts. For those who have listened to this album, you know what I'm talking about. And then it goes into Cthulhu Dawn, and it just rips. Me sitting in the car, I'm like, whoa, this is not Cradle of Filth. This is not Cradle of Filth. And now, for those of you who don't know about Cradle of Filth, they have a couple albums that veer a little bit, go real off course from their traditional style. But we'll get into it. But listening to Midian was shocking, dude. I was like, what is happening right now? This is not Cradle of Filth. What is this? But I liked it. I liked it. And it sort of became a thing where I just kind of started looking for more music, and I found myself really drawn to black metal. Like, I really liked Dark Throne. I really liked Immortal. I really liked Emperor, Mayhem, Dissection. I was really into the more melodic black metal. I mean, I found Summoning, and you name it. I went into it. I was really, really heavy into black metal. And from there, I went into death metal, and then we went into nu metal, and Slipknot kind of became one of my favorite bands. I was really drawn to Slipknot. I remember getting Iowa from the store, and I was like, oh, crap, dude, this album fucking slays. Like, it's just like a punch in the gut. Like, it was just so... It was brutal. Like, I was a heavy album. Like, there's heavy themes on there, man. It's a good album. I'm not gonna deny it. It's probably Slipknot's best album. But getting off topic. Go from Slipknot, and then eventually we go more down into Metallica, Iron Maiden, Sabbath. Things I didn't like. I didn't like any of that. I didn't even like Metallica until like 2014, once I really started getting into guitar. I could appreciate Metallica. But I was never into the traditional metal, except for King Diamond. I fucking love King Diamond. I was drawn to that, and I think it was the storytelling. So from there, we go on through our journey, and out of all of this musical content that I'm consuming, and mind you, I would go onto YouTube and I would subscribe to every single music promotional channel that dealt with metal, like black metal promo, death metal promo, atmospheric black metal, all that stuff. All the channels that constantly post new things, I was there. I was listening to everything, consuming so much music in my high school years. I still do it, but it's like a Sunday thing now when I'm off work. I just wake up in the morning, drink a coffee, kind of browse the new releases. So through all that giant musical chaos and that massive circus, I gravitated towards a few bands, but one band stood out amongst all other bands, and that band is Death. Death is my favorite band, death metal band formed in Florida, 1983. The goats, in my opinion, the best metal band of all time. I don't think any band will ever outdo Death. And it wasn't that they were the heaviest band, it wasn't that they were the inventors of death metal or whatever people say. I mean, they were definitely a big part of that movement and why it became so successful. If you just look at all the people that have credited Death for the reason why they're into music, it's mostly the songwriting. Like, Death had a very good way of, here's the song title. The song title is part of the chorus or somewhere in the song, and you can sing along to it. And the riffs and the songs were very... They followed a pop formula. You'd get the gist of the song, and by the time it came around again, you already knew what was going on because you heard it the first time, and you could sing along to it. Of course, there were, some of the riffs had twists and turns, but as far as like the lyrics went, you could always sing along to the songs by the second go around of like the chorus. And I think that's something that Death did better than any other band. I'm sure plenty of other bands do it now, and bands did it back then in the day, but at least in my mind, when I first heard of Death, I was like, whoa, there's a death metal band, and death metal's about just kind of breaking out of these boundaries and doing all sorts of crazy things. And they're just following this basic formula. And they're making catchy songs. Every song has a memorable riff, every song has memorable lyrics, everything's memorable. You remember all of the songs, and I think that's what made Death stand out for me amongst all other metal bands. That's why I gravitated towards them. It's my favorite band. Repping the shirt right now. If I had to recommend some albums to people, definitely Symbolic. This is one of their later albums. It's not pure death metal. It's got a lot going on. It's proggy. It's the back for you. It's proggy. It's some death metal. It's more heavy metal. Like it's a melting pot. All right, like don't take that out of context. Don't sit here. I didn't call death heavy metal. All right, like death metal. But this album is very digestible to someone who's not particularly into extreme metal. If we go further back into the catalog of Death, yeah, you're going to get into some more heavier stuff. But even then, I think it's very digestible for someone. I don't I don't think I'd give someone Leprosy right off the bat. Maybe the song pulled the plug. But I would give someone Symbolic right off the bat to listen to. There's a lot of memorable songs in here that are very easy for you to take in, for the listener to go, "Oh man, this is a great song." Like the chorus comes back around, and I can sing along to the chorus, which something Death did better than all the other death metal bands, I think. That being said, I'm going to take this opportunity to show off my favorite Death album of all time, Individual Thought Patterns. This album is way more proggy and technical than anything before it. And I think after it, there's a little debate to be had about the solos from Bobby Coble on Symbolic. They're great. That guy's insane. Death has a track record of never having the same musicians. It was a rotating door, except for Chuck Schuldiner. He was always involved, right? He was the guy. Everyone else kind of rotated in and out. You had some people that made 2 appearances, and that was it. But Individual Thought Patterns features Andy LaRocque from King Diamond on here, and I think that's probably why this becomes my favorite album. The contrast in solo differences and guitar playing differences between Andy and Chuck really kind of elevate this album for me. And don't get me wrong, they're all 10 out of 10. Even Scream Bloody Gore, which is my least favorite Death album because it's kind of just a thrash album, but it's still catchy, right? Like it's a catchy album. I think by the time you get to Leprosy, Death is Death. It is what it is. Scream Bloody Gore, my least favorite album. Still a 10 out of 10. We're going with it. But yeah, this album's cool, man. You get the back. I'm so sorry for the glare. The vinyl itself is extremely awesome. It's pink and black kind of splatter going on in there. And as usual, you just get a little booklet. It's got these cool little like pictures and like poster hang-ups and stuff. And I love this stuff. This is why I love collecting physical media. Like, you can go to Spotify and you can listen to all the music in the world that you want, but there's nothing better than just pulling this stuff out, putting it on the record player, dropping the needle. It feels good. Like, it's an experience. I'm going to veer off topic here a little bit from Death, but I've always collected CDs ever since I was younger. And now that I'm older, I mean, I'm moving into vinyls. I started collecting these about a year ago. I didn't even have a player until half a year ago. They reissued all of the Death vinyls except for Symbolic. I bought them all. Didn't have a player. I was just like, nope, all in the cart. I'm grabbing them. I'll hang them up. I don't care. Then I got a player. Now we got a little setup going on, and it turns music from just Spotify background noise into an active listening experience to me. I like to come home, drop a record in, and just kind of like decompress. It's cool. So yeah, that is Individual Thought Patterns from Death. Such a cool record. Such a cool proggy record. I mean, the riffs are wonky. A little bit of wankery in there, but not too much. Not like 80s traditional guitar wankery, like there's cool riffs, cool solos. Chuck's voice in this album is awesome. And the drumming is phenomenal. The bass is probably the star of this album. The bass is front and center. I mean, that fretless bass just goes for days. And it's just, this thing on some headphones is brutal. Speakers, just brutal. That's such a good record. Alright. So, moving on from there, my second favorite band. It's a British 4-piece from Reading, Sylosis. Newer band. They've been around since, I think their first little EP dropped in 2006, and they had another one in 2007. I wasn't a fan of those. But I will admit the first thing I heard of Sylosis was their debut record, Conclusion of an Age. And then I went back and found it on YouTube, and it was... The older stuff is whatever. But man, once you hit Conclusion of an Age, they tuned to E standard, they played thrash, and it was heavy. Like it was heavy. Like they were making their riffs sound heavier than bands that were drop tuning, which like I love it. I love the E standard riffs. They're cool. Nowadays Silos is playing a lower tuning because they just don't care anymore. They don't care about the public perception and being confined to a box of, oh, we have to do this. And I respect that. My favorite Silosis record is probably going to be Dormant Heart. It's thrashy with very dark themes. Throughout the catalog of Silosis, we kind of start with thrash, and then it moves on to more thrash, but with progressive elements. And then I think those, in my opinion, get stripped away into more just straight on thrash, which is Dormant Heart is my favorite record. It's a dark thrash with an organic feel. And what I mean by that is throughout this album you're going to hear chirping noises. And a lot of people think it's a metronome, but I believe Josh said, and I don't remember the exact interview, it may have been a YouTube video, like an FAQ, but I believe he said in the recording it was just him having a heavy picking hand and hitting those strings with all the gain that was stacked. It just gave that feedback, and it just got left in on the album. It's on a few tracks. One of the tracks, if you want to check it out, is To Build a Tomb. It features very heavily on some of the riffs in there, and I like that. It gives it an organic feel. It doesn't sound overly heavy processed where, oh, we have to remove every blemish and every mistake off of this album. I like it when an album has weird quirks in it because it just feels alive. It feels human. It doesn't feel very overly processed and like a machine did it. That's something I could appreciate a lot about Death, is that it doesn't sound clean. Like the album sounds good, the playing is tight, and it's in mostly in time, but there's changes in the song. You go from this tempo to this tempo to this tempo, and it's clean, but it's not. It's very organic. It's very human. It's not done to a click track. It's not fully focused in and honed in. It's a bunch of guys sitting in a studio. They're like, yeah, I'm going to record this part, and we slap it together, and you create magic, and I appreciate that. That being said, please practice your instruments to a click. Metronomes are good for you. I'm guilty of not doing it. Yeah. Some other mentions of Silosis are the new album, A Sign of Things to Come. It is still thrashy. It is catchy. It is heavy. It's modern. It's just Silosis in a modern format. In my personal opinion, I think the new EP, The Path, which is just leftover songs that didn't make it onto the latest record, are better than most songs on the record. But they kind of have a darker feel to them. They kind of go back into the direction of Dormant Heart for me. Yeah. Next up, we're going to go to my third favorite band, which is Cradle of Filth. Now, I have sat here struggling to figure out what album I want to talk about. I grabbed a few of the Cradle of Filth CDs that I could find, which is this stack right here. I'm trying to figure out what I want to talk about and showcase, because I want to talk about one album that was the second Cradle of Filth album that I bought, which is Pornography. Much like Nymphetamine, this album is not your traditional Cradle of Filth. And what I mean by that is Cradle of Filth is typically symphonic, like black metal, they're not black metal, but very heavily influenced, very, very heavy raw vocals. You either hate it or you love it. This steers so far away from that as humanly possible. It's like Iron Maiden tuned down a whole step with Danny Phillips' vocals. That's how I'm going to throw it out there. And it's good. A lot of people hate this album. I love it. I think this album is great. Every song's catchy. Every song has riffs that you remember. I leave this album and I am humming at least 4 songs in my brain for the next 3 days because I can't stop. Like, I'm just shuffling through the entire album in my brain, humming through all the vocal melodies and through all the lead lines because it's a great album. You should check it out. You really should check it out. And then you should go listen to another Cradle of Filth album and be like, what am I listening to right now? This sounds nothing like Cradle of Filth. And that takes me to what I think is another one of their better albums. Okay, two albums. Godspeed on the Devil's Thunder, a concept album released in 2008 about Gilles de Rais from France. I hope I pronounced that right. And Joan of Arc. This goes over Gilles de Rais' crimes. He did a lot of bad things. There's a lot of bad things. You should check it out. It's a lot of bad things. But this album is peak Cradle of Filth. You, from start to finish, we get the entire story of someone, why they did it, how they did it. They would do it again. Danny Filth is an incredible vocalist, and I think that's one of the things that really draws me to him, is that, like, his vocal presentation is good, but his lyricism is just... I can't think of a better person in metal who writes as good of lyrics as Danny Filth. Like, he's just poetry. I can't think of someone who does it better than him. So that's kind of what drew me to Cradle, and I still listen to him nonstop every day. Buy the albums when they come out. Speaking of which, I was going to do a Christmas haul, and I'll just throw this one in here. The latest album from 2021, Existence is Futile, should be checked out. It is an absolute monster of a record. There are so many good songs on here. The writing is top-notch. Danny's vocals are top-notch. And mind you, the same lineup in this album is not going to be in the next album. They've already gone through a guitar player and the keyboard player, which sucks because the guitar player in this album and the 2 before that, which are Hammer of the Witches and Cryptoriana, The Seductiveness of Decay, the guitar players were Ashok and Richard Shaw, who brought a level of technicality and songwriting to Cradle that didn't exist before then. And they were doing things that I didn't think would ever be in Cradle. And it took them from here to here. I mean, they're just... Unfortunately, Richard's no longer in the band, neither is the keyboard player, but they do have Danny Borges on guitar now, who was in Veil of Nath. And I'm pretty sure I butchered that, and I'm so sorry. But awesome technical band, kind of spooky. He's going to fit right in. He's going to fit right into Cradle. I love Richard Shaw, and I'm excited to see what Cradle do with him on guitar, because he's, from everything I saw, an absolute monster of a player. But back to Existence is Futile. I'm not going to really show you the record itself because it doesn't have anything cool on it. It's just a black disc with the picture of the album cover in the middle. Nothing too fancy, but I will show you the gatefold. Really freaking cool. I'm so sorry about the glare. I'll get this figured out in the future. I'm sure I'll continue doing this because I'm having a good time, but let me get the booklet here for you because the booklet's cool. Check this out. Look at this guy. This is awesome. This is what it's about, man. This is putting the bad boy on, cranking up the speakers, checking out the art. That's what it's all about. I don't really have much more to go over. That's kind of like my 3 favorite bands. I guess I can talk about what I don't like and what else I do like. So, obviously I like extreme metal. I like all metal, pretty much. I'm not really a big fan of slam or like grindcore or like brutal death metal. Usually brutal death metal is like too guttural for me, and I don't really like the overly like just intense super guttural lows where I actually have zero idea what the hell's happening. It just doesn't do it for me. I love things like Cannibal Corpse, Cradle, Death, Silosis, King Diamond, you name it. I like it all. Lorna Shore, absolutely love Lorna Shore. I saw them live a few years ago. Will Ramos is an absolute insane vocalist. The man sounds as good, if not better, in live than he does in the studio, which I didn't think was possible. And their guitar players were absolutely on point. It was just phenomenal. Same with Angel Maker. I saw Angel Maker live, and they were absolutely killing it. Yeah. I listen to a little bit of hip hop. I don't have a lot of hip hop albums, but I think I'll bust them out. I think I'll pull out in one of the videos. I'll pull out the things that aren't metal, and I'll just kind of showcase them. We got some odd ones in there that I think some people will appreciate. Besides that, I really don't dislike a lot of music. I dislike country and maybe like gospel and a lot of like overly religious music, but that doesn't really come my way. I hear a lot of country based off where I live here in Colorado. You can get a lot of country in this part of the state. And past that, I like pretty much everything. I'm a huge fan of trance. I love EDM. Anything really with a crazy fast beat that gives you a lot of energy. I don't like a lot of dad rock. I'm not a fan of Zeppelin, AC/DC, the things like that. It just doesn't do it for me. Never been a fan of it. It's too slow, not enough energy. I like off the wall energy. So I think that's pretty much it. I don't have much for you guys. If you have questions, let me know. Recommend me bands. Recommend me an artist. I don't care if it's metal or not. I'm gonna check it out. One of my favorite electronic artists is Armin van Buuren. I mean, he's great. It's got all sorts of stuff. State of Trance is always fun to listen to, So, anyway, if you got anything, let me know. Drop it in the comments. I'll make another video here soon going over records that I got about a week ago in the mail. We'll do January update volume 1, and then we'll just go from there. You guys have a good one. Later.